Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Reddit Aliens. I'm John, and as always, thank you so much for being here. Good topic? Let's do it. What's the strangest or creepiest encounter you've had with a stranger? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe.
I'm in the service industry. I literally only said hi and smiled at this man. He followed me everywhere in the restaurant, kept asking me when I got off and what my number was. The second time he came by, he did the same thing, and I just didn't feel safe anymore because it was to the point where he was rubbing on me by accident and even standing next to me while taking other orders. My manager kicked him out. He got mad and said, "I'll see you outside, bitch. See how tough you really are." Every night I had someone walk me out to my car till I left. I was getting back home from a friend's house. Waiting for the subway train, a guy sat next to me and started a conversation. I was polite until he solicited sex from me. I was very offended and told him to leave me alone. I got on the train. He followed me 2 steps until I realized I was going the wrong direction. I got off, went to the opposite train, and the guy still followed me. I yelled at him to leave me alone at this point since I knew he was following me, and no one else on the train stepped in or did anything. I kept moving from seat to seat, and he kept getting in my space. I've been literally locked in a car with a stranger before, and nothing was as creepy as this guy and the fact that no one stepped in. When I was around 13, I was walking alone just before sunrise. A car approached me slowly and genuinely believed they were either lost or seeking directions. I was quite naive at the time. They rolled up right beside me and said, "Hey boy." Then, unexpectedly, one of them lunged at me as if attempting to seize me. I was terrified and just bolted, running breathlessly while hearing them laugh behind me. A few seconds later, they drove up again and shouted something like, "My name, I'm sorry, it was just a joke," but I had no idea who it even was. Keep in mind, I'm super introverted and barely had any friends, and this person was probably 18 or older. To this day, I have no clue who it was, and I still see him as a complete stranger. Even now, my heart races when I hear a car engine while walking alone. Back in 2016, my best friend at the time was living with me. We stayed up one night playing cards and drinking. Around 2 a.m., she receives a call from a friend who is intoxicated and requests a visit. In the year that she lived with me, I never said no to one of her booty calls to come over. That night, I said I wasn't really feeling someone coming over so late. She laughed and said it was fine. I accepted that and said okay. I went to bed and fell asleep. I had only a shirt on. Something abruptly jolts me out of my slumber. I guess my body knew it wasn't something good, so I just remember opening my eyes and not moving. I kept feeling the poking, and finally I turn over, and there's a naked guy with his just rubbing on me. I tell him to go back to the friend's name's room, and he proceeds to tell me he's so drunk and got lost, and then sits on my bed. He tries to rub my arm and talk me into kissing him. I make up a lie that I have to pee first and wrap my blanket around me. As I'm walking to the bathroom, he's right behind me, hand on my back. I close the door and he tries to come in. I was terrified. Despite being a foot taller and carrying a significant amount of weight, the situation was quite unsettling. I finally got a hold of a friend and told her the Cliff's Note version of what was happening. She was pissed at me and said he was blacked out. I asked her to take him home, and I went to my mom's. I was prepared to lash out at her for appearing to overreact. Once I told her everything, she had the right reaction. He messaged me twice afterwards. It was definitely strange. I traveled to Germany once with a friend. We went to a cool club. We're sitting there chilling. It was a really nice place. Suddenly we see a dude in a trench coat and hat standing at the bar watching us. At first we thought nothing of it. I went to the bathroom and suddenly after a few minutes I heard him calling my name to see if I was okay. Turns out the dude with the trench was in the same direction and was about to enter the woman's bathroom until he saw my friend approach. We kept hanging out, and he kept watching us. After a while, we decided to go back to the hotel, and he got out and walked behind us to the underground. At one stop, we ran out and entered through another door, and that's how we finally lost him. I was 8 years old or so and visiting Washington, D.C. with my family. We were seeing the National Geographic Museum and split off to check it out independently. Well, this guy walked up to me and started aggressively questioning me in French. I told him I didn't speak it, but he kept pressing me regardless. I ended up walking away to another part of the museum. Only he kept following and kept trying to question me in French. Eventually, I went to the front desk to report them, but by the time someone was speaking to me, the French dude was nowhere to be found. Back in high school, I was hanging out with my best friend Sarah on a lonely, warm night during summer break, sometime past midnight. We were bored and decided to go for a late-night walk. My family lived in a quiet, safe part of town, and my parents had no issues with the two of us being out that late. We're minding our own business, probably chatting about boys or something else stupid, when we hear a car approaching. Totally normal, of course. We're on a street, cars drive on streets. We think nothing of it right up until the car passes us, pulls over a couple houses ahead of us, and a tall, wild-eyed man leaps out of the car and starts sprinting directly toward us. Okay, I lied. I'm not now, nor have I ever been a teenage girl. I was the man. I was close to home at the very end of a long road trip, and I really had to pee. I figured I could make it all the way home, but by the time I'd make it to my street, the dam was ready to break. In an attempt to be as efficient as possible, I decided I was going to pull up just past the walkway to my front door to minimize the distance I had to travel. This meant that for a brief moment before I turned up the walkway, I was running directly toward them. I was so focused on making it to the toilet that I didn't consider how it would look to those two poor girls going for a midnight stroll. Fortunately, their fear was short-lived, and after screaming in terror, they had some choice words for me as they continued on their way. When I was 15, I was transported to a mental hospital as a juvenile. When I got there, they had to run specific tests on me, but they didn't have the juvenile clinic open. They had me go over to the adult site, and the entire time I was walking there was an adult man that kept asking me personal questions. Every time I saw him, he'd try to talk to me, even if it was through a window. He wouldn't stop no matter how many times the staff tried to get him to. The creepiest part, in my opinion, is that he was a generally attractive man, so it scares me to think how many others he managed to get to answer him before he was put in there. I worked nights at Waffle House fresh out of high school. Around 3 a.m. a lady walks in barefoot carrying a baby that looked around 6 months old and a reusable grocery bag. She walks up to the counter, starts twitching and says, "I gotta get out of here," over and over again. Police pull into the Waffle House parking lot, and she runs outside toward the back of the Waffle House, but not before pulling a gun out of a reusable bag. It creeped me out for days to see someone like that with a baby. I, woman, took a taxi home from the airport, and once we got back to my apartment, as I was reaching my hand toward the door handle, he locked me in. He then proceeded to start crying, saying I was so nice to talk to. I didn't say a word the entire drive as he talked about himself endlessly, and that he didn't want me to leave. My blood ran cold. I've had a few terrifying encounters with men before, but I never felt so close to death before this happened. I just started repeating in a soothing voice, "You have to let me go now, sir." The craziest part is when I got inside, my husband greeted me and immediately burst into tears because he had a medical scare earlier that day. We sat there as I held him, but I was still in a disassociated state, floating above the two of us watching. I was walking around a city in the US one night and saw an open garage door on the ground floor of a high-rise. I went to check it out because I saw a vintage muscle car inside that I wanted to get a photo of. As I got within 20 feet or so of the door, someone started walking out toward me, and I turned to leave, but the guy called after me and said it was okay if I wanted to come check it out. I went back and the guy introduced himself as Cyrus, said he was the security guard for the garage but was wearing plain clothes. I started talking about the car and he started chatting me up, asking me what I like to do for fun. As Cyrus started talking more, I started feeling more leery of his demeanor. He started talking, asking what kind of alcohol I liked and that he liked going out to pool halls and wanted me to come play with him sometime. I started to back away slowly, but he immediately closed the gap and wrapped his arm around me, pulling my body into him tightly. Cyrus was shorter than me and looked up into my eyes, insisting I give him my phone number so we could meet up later. His hand firmly gripped my jacket, and I could feel his bony torso pressed against me. I decided to go along with Cyrus's request to give him my phone number to de-escalate the situation. He let go of me and pulled his phone out. I gave him a fake number, which he asked me to repeat, and I definitely didn't give him the same number twice, but as soon as it was clear, he was satisfied with the interaction. I hurried away. There was never a moment where I thought I was going to start a fight. I knew I was not tough enough to try, and he scared the hell out of me. I was at a park with my 3 young children, 5, 4, and 2. The youngest 2 are girls. My son was on the playground, while my girls were riding bikes, and I stood in between them. A larger, older man, who looked unkempt, came up to me. He had a very small dog, and started beckoning my 4-year-old, who was a very beautiful girl, might I add, with bright blonde curls and big blue eyes, over to pet his dog. She wasn't really that interested. The guy started talking to me about their bikes and said something about how he has some kid in the Philippines he bought bikes for. I didn't really say much, and he kept going on about my daughters and the children he knew in the Philippines. This continued until 2 women who were sitting at the playground yelled at him to leave me and my children alone. He went back toward the parking lot, and my daughter was riding her bike down the path in that direction. So I walked over to see the path all the way to the parking lot to keep an eye on her. And he was climbing into a very old van with an older woman hanging out the window with her phone, taking a picture or video of my daughter on her bike.
Alright, I'll give you one. It's not creepy, it's disappointing. So I was bartending in 2006 in a town I'm very familiar with, and this woman came in at the end of the night, like past last call, and she looked like very disheveled and wiry, but not like gross, just like malnourished. Anyway, she was asking me for $20. She's like, I have to take a taxi home to my parents' house, but it's too late for me to call them because my phone died. I'll come back tomorrow and give you the $20, or I'll leave it with your manager or whatever. I said, listen, I don't believe you, but I'm going to give you this $20 because I expect you to come back and return it to me, and I'm putting this on you. If you don't come back and return this $20, I'm going to lose a little bit of my faith in humanity. If you're doing this because you genuinely need what you say, and you're not going to go and buy drugs, then I'm wrong, and I'll believe in you. If you don't, I guess I was right, and the cynic in me lives to see another day. So I go home, I sleep, I wake up, I come back to work the next day, and guess what? She never came back. Never saw the human being again. She probably bought drugs. But I learned a valuable lesson. Drug addicts like to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and beg for money.
So there I am in the Dominican Republic. I had promised my friend I would look for some Larimar while I was there, and I found a beautiful piece, but didn't have cash. My then boyfriend and I went up to the room, and he didn't feel like coming back down. So I went to the beach on my own to buy the stone. Well, earlier that day there was a man selling cigars that we had talked with briefly, and when I went back down, he saw me. Initially, he asked me to get him a glass of water from the resort, which I didn't think was weird. It was hot, and he'd been out all day. When I returned with the water, the man tried to kiss me. I recall thinking, Jesus, they're going to kidnap me. I politely said, no, thank you, and quickly went back to the room. I did not leave on my own again. This incident occurred during my first year of college. I was 19 at the time, but I looked a lot younger. Very thin, around 168 centimeters, easily young enough to pass for a 14-year-old boy. One morning, I noticed a man standing at the far end of the road I was walking down to the bus station I usually used to get to campus. He looked like he was in his late 40s and was staring directly at me. I acted as if I didn't see him and just kept walking. But the whole time, I could feel his eyes looked on me. When I finally got close enough, he suddenly said, "Hey, how are you?" and reached out to shake my hand. His smile seemed insincere and unsettling, creepy even. I replied with a polite, "I'm okay," expecting some kind of explanation, but instead he just kept staring into my eyes, still smiling, and didn't say a word. It was unsettling, so I asked, "Do I know you?" No response. I asked again a little firmer this time. That's when he finally said, "Oh, you look like someone I knew, sorry." I said, "It's okay," and walked away. But as I kept walking, I could sense he was still behind me. A minute later, he started walking right next to me, matching my pace. It was on for about 15 seconds until he finally asked, "Where do you live?" That's when my gut told me something was really off. I had reached my limit of politeness. I looked at him and snapped, "Why do you care?" Then I remember his exact words. "Just your number, I want it." I stepped toward him, ready to throw hands if I had to. My whole energy shifted, and that must have scared him because he kept out this awkward, nervous laugh and quickly walked away without looking back. And here's the thing, keep in mind, I looked very young at the time. I'm certain he thought I was just some 14-year-old kid he could prey on. Therefore, it can be concluded that this man was indeed a predator. He was a complete and utter creep. And to enter this day, I still wonder how many actual mirrors he's approached, and how many didn't get the chance to stand up to him like I did. My best friend and I were 19, maybe 21 female, and we were used to go get drunk and go hang out down at the local strip bars in my town. We did this almost every weekend until we were able to get into bars, but I'll never forget one time. We were sitting in the same spot we sat in every time we went. It was kind of far from everyone and everything, and we were just chilling. While this homeless man was like 15 feet from us, we thought nothing of it and just carried on with our conversation. A couple minutes pass and he asks for money. Okay, cool. We give him some money, like whatever, I like helping out. So like 30 minutes go by and we're just vibing, hanging out, and this other homeless man walks up and asked for money, and the first homeless man yelled at him, "Hey, leave them alone, they're mine." My best friend and I looked at each other and immediately got up, laughing nervously. It was so creepy. Safe to say, we stopped hanging out at that spot after that, LOL. I was at a bus stop after my shift at a local restaurant I worked at. I was at a bus stop after my shift. It was approximately 10:30 in the evening when a man approached the bus stop and leaned against the doorway. When I looked over, I noticed that he had exposed himself and was staring at me while doing so. I felt trapped as my only means of leaving was to pass by him, which caused me to feel a sense of panic. I was trapped. My only way out was to pass him, so I panicked a little. He nodded at me when I glanced over. The bus finally came, and I ran past it. He proceeded to follow me, found out where I worked and everything.
I'd see him everywhere, and he would just stare at me. Friends have witnessed it, and we would often have to leave and go somewhere else. I left that job and found another, and he found me again. I had to get him banned from the building. I never kept a gun, but I always had a sturdy pen on me, good for jamming into someone's temple and not a weapon I could be charged with. Or I had hairspray or something, sometimes bear spray. It was about 2 years of him being around and me constantly having to watch my back. He had dead eyes. The day before my grandma died in the hospital last summer, I was at work in the grocery store I work at. This guy comes up to me and asks me if there are some egg boxes he could take. Requests happen all the time. I say, yeah, I'll take you to the aisle. I take him over there, and I show him the cardboard, and he looks at me and says, I must be in the right place. What a weird, somewhat pleased expression. I'm not a superstitious person by nature, just a little stitious. But the guy gave me a chill, and when my grandma died the next day of natural causes, I couldn't help but wonder if I had in fact encountered death walking around as a man. I was in a cafe on the Isle of Wight, waiting in the queue. I was just ordering my dinner, and I felt something running through my hair. I turned around, and it was some random dude who I'd never met, running his hands through my hair. He then grinned and said, pretty hair. I nearly decked the bastard, but his mate intervened and pulled him away, apologizing before letting the couple behind them go in front of them. I felt him watching me the whole time I was in that cafe. I ended up half eating my dinner and abandoning it. Some quick background. When I was 16, my family went to a KOA campsite for a family reunion. I have an uncle and cousins all close in age to me and my brother. As usual, we would hang out together whenever we got the chance. My uncle brought the D&D 4E books and stuff with him so we could play. All of us are guys too. So there we are making our characters at a picnic bench when all of a sudden he shows up. A 50-plus-year-old, creepy, kinda hippie, vegan-like dude with thinning hair and a salt and pepper beard shows up and says, oh, where are the chickadees? So guys, where are the chicks? In awkward confusion, we just tell them with the rest of our family. It's a big family. We talk about what we're doing while he has this creepy smile. He eventually tells us to have a good day and walks off. This happened almost 15 years ago, and my uncle, cousins, and brother and I still joke about it today. I was driving home after work. I was a couple of minutes from my house. The car in front of me was going really slow, barely 20 miles per hour. The speed limit's 45. I didn't know what was going on there, so I safely passed him. He clearly didn't like that, and no joke, started chasing me. It sped up really fast, and I got very worried. I didn't even pull down my driveway in case he followed me there. Pretty soon he slowed down and I lost him, but damn, that was scary. There are so many psychos and messed up people out there. It didn't happen to me, but I just watched the movie Stalking Laura with Brooke Shields from the 90s yesterday. If you haven't heard the case, look it up. A girl moves and starts a new job, and on her first day meets a seemingly normal guy coworker. From there, he starts showing up at her gym classes, breaking into her house, garage to leave her notes, and it just gets worse and worse from there until he gets fired for his job behavior. After he gets fired, he comes back to the job, shoots her, and kills 7 other people. It's so sad to me how this one chance encounter at a new job changed this woman's life forever. I was at the VA Medical Center, and when I arrived back at my car in the parking lot, this guy who was parked next to me was sitting in his car with the window rolled down. He began saying, "You're beautiful, you're beautiful. Can I take you out for coffee? I've been looking for someone like you. I could kiss you all over. You're beautiful." My first reason I gave him for not taking me out for coffee was that I had to go to class. I was in college at the time. He responded by asking if I could skip class. I kept telling him no thanks, and he kept up with the "you're beautiful" comments, and even asked if I had a boyfriend. It was none of your business, bucko. But I did not give it to him. I did gather some info and notified the police, though, and shortly afterward I ordered a few pepper sprays. To everybody else out there, repeatedly telling someone they're beautiful, pretty, etc. is actually creepy. And if they say no thanks, or give another reason for why they don't want you to take them out for coffee or whatever else, listen to them and let it go. And don't ask if they have a significant other. That's none of your business. This was creepy, cringy, and almost criminal, but funny as hell just the same. I was standing in front of my friend's store smoking when some gangbanger thought I was a rival. I for sure thought I was going to have to fight this dumbass, and I saw him reach into his jacket pocket for something. One of my cop friends was inside and saw this through the window. Big guy, scary as. So I smirked at the little shit trying to scare me. Well, he did when he tried to reach for what we found out was a blade. When he saw my cop friend come out, gun drawn, asked me if I was okay, turned to the little shit, and told him to spread them on the wet, cold floor. It was wet snow. He got cuffed and searched, and he was found with a 7-inch lockback. He called for backup, and would you know it, but they were more cop friends. Before they took him away, they all put the fear of God into him when they told him anytime he sees me, I had to cross the street or walk away. A few years later, this dumbass tried it again with someone else. He's now pushing daisies, as he was shot in self-defense.